Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Book 91. Listen, we're going to be talking to you guys about Never Ever Met Season 2. Yes, it's crazy. I can't lie to you. I'm a bit late, of course. It should have been on a Saturday, but I was burning the candle at both ends, as they say. But listen, we're going to talk about this show. It's been a crazy one. I can't lie to you. I'm seeing people holding secret pregnancies. I'm seeing people on this show doing absolute wonder walls, okay? And I'm interested to talk about this. You know, this show, obviously, Somebody's Son's coming on as well. It's going to be interesting to break this all the way down. So listen, if you stick with us, make sure you guys liking, you're sharing, you're subscribing, you're clicking on that fabulous bell button. You know what? It's a Tuesday night, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it members only. Okay, so if you're not a member, boohoo. All right, we're gonna keep it members only today, and I have chop it up, talk about the show. Because let me tell you this now, this show is a train wreck. I can't even take this show seriously because some of the things I just be thinking to myself. Well, first of all, Chris, we saw You're Ready to Love. I didn't want to be rude, but from where you went to where you are now, I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to say nothing because we're here talking about behaviors only, okay? But as a behavior, I'm looking at it and I'm looking at it a bit strange. You were on Ready to Love, and suddenly now you're on this particular show. So I am looking at you some type of way. But listen, I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to bring my boy on, Sean, to talk about the show and break it all the way down. Okay, so listen, if you're here and you enjoyed this Never Ever Mets, it's a time to log on because we're going to have a real conversation tonight. All right, let me get my boy Sean on and we're going to have this conversation. Brother,
What's a
talk to me,
going?
brother.
What's a going, brother?
Yes, brother. What is a guaning? Because it's crazy up in here. This particular episode was a manic one, to say the least. There was a lot of things that were going on. You know, I was surprised. I can't lie to you, Cap. I was surprised. What are your thoughts on this episode?
The show should be never, ever mess because it's just, it's just a mess. We got secret babies. We got lingerie photo shoots on the first date. We got, homeboy Pastor Cavassier being dubbed by a kiss from old girl. We got shower scenes. We got a lot going on. So it's definitely started off with a bang, pun intended.
Yeah, listen, it's a crazy one. You know, of course, people are holding secrets, which is, you know, of course, when you're on the show and you know you're doing things where you're long distance and you guys have not actually connected, there's bound to be some things that are going to come up which are going to blow some people's minds. So it's going to be interesting to discuss and break down. Of course, like I said, we'll bring you guys obviously the exclusive on that, and we'll bring you guys obviously the pictures so you can actually see it. Because I know you guys be complaining, talking about how I don't always bring the pictures for you. I will bring the pictures so you remember who we're talking about. All right. So let's get into this show because I think the first one, just to talk, let's start with a bang. You know, let's start with a bang. Let's start, you know, from the very top because you know the particular couple who obviously came out and had their particular issues, which I don't know why I don't have a picture for them. I will get it up for you now. They had a situation where Jared and I believe it's I don't know her name. The name's gone out of my head. Jared and something, but anyway, they have a situation where she's pregnant. Sorry, I lied. She already had the child,
Charlie.
and
Her name is
Charlie, that was
Charlie.
it. Thank you. Yeah, let's talk about Charlie and you know Jared. I honestly I can't lie to you. People hiding pregnancies, then having two more kids is crazy work to me. What was your thoughts?
I'm not gonna hold you. Like the whole situation was odd. I was very distracted in my I don't know. My head was all over the place because I was busy trying to figure out, is she white? Is she biracial? Like I was stuck on that. And then to add when she had a whole bunch of children, then she was, you know, what do they call it? Lactating, or she was I don't want to use the wrong word. But whatever she was doing, she was removing the breast milk from herself, and it just was a lot for me. It was overwhelming. I don't want to get in women's business and start saying what she should be doing with having a 1 month old. So I'm gonna leave that where it is. But definitely odd, and not that she just had one child, but another child that she just didn't disclose. So it was just all very concerning.
Yeah, no, it was. I think even just talking about this from a real perspective, I the situation, right? Of course, they got like that strong physical connection. When they first met, he was talking about how she had a beautiful bum. She said how good looking he is. So there's clearly a physical attraction here. Okay, but what we have now is trust issues because I think obviously having hidden one baby would have been like, okay, you know what? I get it. We were separated. Maybe we can potentially pass that. But actually, the issue is there is actually two more kids that she has in the woodwork as well. Talk to us a little bit about that, Sean. What kind of relationship can be built from this particular space when you now find out this kind of information about your potential future partner?
Nothing for me. It begins and ends with that kind of disclosure. But I just think it's a lot. That's a lot. How do we? Which is why I'm so fascinated with the show, because like, how do we have a relationship, and not only do you have another child, but you literally have a 1 month old child that you have yet to disclose to me, and the rationale. And maybe you'll get to talk to her after and get an interview. I think that'll be great. Because I don't understand her rationale about, oh, I had an inkling that he was up to something, so I decided to get up to something, and the result was a 1 month old child. Like, you were doing a whole lot of some things. So for me, it's just very, very shaky, and he's got a secret too. So listen, it's a lot.
Yeah, no, and I think obviously this situation, I think for her, she really has to look at herself as to why she also felt compelled to hide this and why she also felt the need to pass off the buck as to why she did what she did. Let's don't get twisted. I'm sure it was a part of her reasoning and her thinking as to why she slept on somebody else. Oh, he's doing what he's doing. I'm going to do what I'm doing. But you do need to take some accountability for the fact that you got pregnant and had another child with somebody else and not pass that on to Bean because he's doing what he's doing. You know what I mean? And so for me personally, I think looking at it from a perspective of relationship wise, I'm looking at her like you make bad decisions. And I don't mean a child is necessarily a bad decision, but you're making bad decisions in terms of you put yourself in situations, right? So for me, it's like um what level of maturity are we going to bring to this relationship? I do appreciate the fact that she wanted to confess and say what she wanted to say to that man. I get it. But for me personally, I'm looking at the maturity. I'm looking at, okay, what can you really bring to a healthy relationship if we're already starting on the footprint of not one, but three other kids are being hidden, right? Now, I get it. There might have been shame and there might have been embarrassment as well to really want to tell a man who you may have felt like you're not good enough for by already having maybe one kid, but knowing that you have three kids, right? So I think that already then puts her in a particular place um, where you're going to be looking at her and thinking to yourself, can I trust this person to be a partner for me? And am I ready to take on four kids? Talk to me, Sean.
Yeah. I guess I want to hear what his secret is, because maybe he got a lot going on too. Because that's the only way something like that in my mind could work, is if I got a lot going on. Maybe I got a couple of kids stowed away here or there, and then your situation, and then we could try to figure it out. That would be the only way that I could see it working. For me, it would be an immediate no. But that's because I don't have kids strewn about town. But maybe for somebody else, it might be a situation they can work with. Now, I just don't. I need to hear the accountability, from her, in terms of, hey, it wasn't planned, or I just want to. I want her to explain why she did it, and then why she chose to not disclose it, and then wait for us to come on a show to tell me on TV that you got two extra kids that we never talked about, and one of them is an infant. So yeah, we would have to have lots and lots of conversations.
Yeah, and I think what's really important about that is, like you said, it'll be very difficult for you to want to be in a relationship with that. What would be your biggest issue actually in that situation, Sean?
Well, I guess it would be the communication part because I'm sorry, if I've never seen you, I'm not gonna even try to pretend like, oh, I think you're being totally faithful. I don't operate off that premise. But if that's the understanding that they had, then we would also have to deal with the level of what happened, why were you unfaithful, you know, like those two things we would definitely have to clear the air around, and then determine like how do we move forward, like what are next steps look like, you know, are we going to continue to be committed to each other, is this going to be a casual thing, like what we need to lay our cards out on the table for sure.
Yeah, I think obviously as well, from my perspective, I think it would be a no for me. First of all, taking on 4 kids is a very tall order. I think obviously when I don't know you, I think we don't have a strong foundation already per se because we haven't met, although we have been speaking for a while. I think you're too comfortable having 4 kids, or at least I think another situation is that now, I think what's going to be very difficult here is that people, and this is where he has to, let's see how his integrity is also, because what is going to potentially happen right now is that she is going to use sex as a way to draw this man in, and they're going to be doing some nasties, and that's what's going to confuse the situation in this relationship as to what he should be really doing. And I hope that that is not something that's going to be a portion, but it more than likely will be. So staying together for the next week or so, I don't know how long it is, whatever they're staying there for, is going to probably likely cause a blur of line because sex is probably going to be involved, and that's where you are going to get yourself entangled in something that you really should be actually fleeing from, and saying not for you. But again, we don't know his secret, of course. When that does come out, we'll know, you know. But yeah, I think that's a big thing for them too as well. Any more thoughts on Jared and Charlie?
Well, if they're going to be getting intimate, he better make sure he's strapped up because she is very, very fertile. So unless he wants to add to their collection of children, I don't know if he has any or how many he may be hiding. But I would just say, please, whatever you do, just strap it up because we don't need any more kids. I think we're good on the kids until they get some definition around what their relationship looks like.
Let me get real Glenn. And Glenn, before I switch it, jump on, bro. What are you saying?
Yo, Charlie, dog. Hey, I can't do it. 4 kids, bruh. Nah, you lying to me. You had one while we was talking. Talk about you had some type of surgery, so you got me feeling some type of way because I'm thinking you having a surgery, and I'm feeling that type of way for you. And then you pop out with a little infant. Okay, I might be able to deal with that because I'm out there doing my own thing. But then you bring out other kids. Nah. Then I want to know, like, do they? I got questions. Do they all have the same baby father? Like, do you expect me to take care of these kids? Like, how long you been doing this, right? Like, am I just another number, right, into your group of kids? And like Sean just said, like, yo, she's fertile. Like, are you? So that means you out there doing it with no protection. So were you with these long relationships? So now I got questions. I got to check myself. Like, you know what? The safest thing might have been us meeting on FaceTime and talking on FaceTime. Because if I touch you, I don't know what I might end up getting or maybe what may end up happening. I might be baby daddy number 5, and it might not even be mine. And you got me hemmed up for a kid that I'm taking care of. It's so many questions. And like, I don't even know whatever he says. Like, if he got 2 kids, now we talk about the Brady Bunch. And that's just a lot going on. So now it's definitely a no. And I hope he says no, hope Jared says no, because that's a lot to take. A real lot. Do I want to start this thing off with 4 kids and an infant? Nah, can't do it.
I definitely hear that. Any other thoughts on that, boys? On this one before I switch it? No. All right, let's switch to the next couple. This couple here was I put I think it's Irvin and Alyssa. He's obviously from Haiti, and he did a date for her where they went on to Compa. It was very, very nice. They enjoyed themselves. She was a little bit apprehensive about the close quarters of connection and physicality on more than one occasion. He is giving off a little bit. I'm not going to say he's getting on thirsty, but it's a little parched, in the way that he wanted to have the physical touch. But then he obviously did a date for them where they were on the top of the roof. And again, he grabbed her from behind, and she was still a little bit apprehensive as well. So I want to get what you guys thoughts on this were, because they both, um, they both obviously had a good physical chemistry. There's obviously a physical attraction between the two of them, and she likes a man that leads, she said as well. So that seems to be something that he's doing quite well at the particular moment as well. But is this really a true connection right now? Because of course, we understand that people don't want to be touched. We understand that consent. We understand those things. But is this a bit more than it actually is? Is there something more behind this? Don't touch, almost like don't, this apprehension of her wanting him to touch her. You know what I mean? Is there something more to that particular aspect? What's your thoughts, boys? What's your thoughts? Glenn, talk to me. What's your thoughts on this?
I think it's a lot more. I think she has some self-esteem issues. I think the reason that she don't want to be taught self-esteem. Jack brought something out when we was watching it. She looked like she lost a lot of weight based off her back of her arms and things like that. So it seemed like she's a little bit heavier than she was and where she's at. So it looked like she lost weight. So I think it's a self-esteem issue, a body issue. And then she may just want to get them. I think they've only been together like 5 months. I think it's like they've only been online for each other for 5 months. So I think she's trying to get to know him, and he's trying to. I don't think him being physical wasn't trying to be sexual. I think it was just his nature. Like, I want to dance. Let's have a dance. I don't know how else do you dance without getting close. So it wasn't like he was rubbing on her butt or anything of that nature, but it was just some touch. So she has some boundaries. I wouldn't be surprised if some things have happened in the past to give her that sense of insecurity or that sense of putting up walls early. And he just has to be able to understand her walls, understand the boundaries she put up, and if he really cares about her, to walk it slow with her, because right now she doesn't feel comfortable. So he can't be pushy or push. But I really do think there are some things that she's dealing with that always pushing him away from the physical touch. So that's my thoughts on Alicia and Erwin. That he's gonna try it because he's just touchy and feely, but gotta read the room. She doesn't like that. So come with something else. Change your game plan up. And we'll see if he's able to do that or not.
Good thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, I kind of thought the latter of what Glenn was saying, like there might have been, something that happened in her past that we don't know about. And if it's not that, some people are very strict. You know what I mean? Like, so, I think her personality seems a little strict anyway, in general. Not quite like Jody from last season, but she might have some strict boundaries, that she enforces. And, you just have to kind of get to know her and for her to get comfortable with you before she kind of lets her guard down. So maybe that's why they've been together. I think they were like dating for 5 months. So it's been a short, and they don't live that far from each other either. I think somebody lives in Pennsylvania and another person lives in Massachusetts, which, those places are generally, you can drive, within a few hours or take a quick flight. They're very close, both in the Northeast. So, hey, maybe that's why dating online worked for her. You know, and I think that's that. But let's see if she seemed to kind of warm up. She said she enjoyed the dancing eventually, and some people are like that. They're a little standoffish in the beginning, and then warm up towards the end. As they get to know the person and get more comfortable. And I think maybe she's that way, but I have a feeling she's gonna be a strict one for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was putting some strong boundaries across, which is okay. I didn't have a problem necessarily with it. Maybe she felt uncomfortable as a first meeting. Even though there was an emotional connection, maybe she felt there wasn't enough just yet to get to the physicality aspect. I think compa in itself is a very seduct. It's a very sensual dance. I mean, we talk about for us, those of us who've been to the Caribbean and them's, we talk about the daggerings. That might be not a bit more matter, but
No,
the
compa is not that. It's
no,
not
no, I
that.
wasn't saying that way, but
Oh,
I
okay.
mean in terms of I know it's not the same as daggering. Daggering is a bit more lewd, but I'm saying in the sense of like we understand that there's going to be a lot of physicality here. There's a lot of physicality. The touching is the fronts are touching. You know what I mean? If your chest ain't touching, your fronts are touching. So there is a lot of closeness in that, and maybe she doesn't feel like she's there just yet. But I also feel as well, maybe even though she may be attracted, I think that, like you were saying, it's a safety component thing. It's a safety component thing as well. And I think, let me give her the benefit of the doubt for now, from my perspective. I think there is from her, it could be a case of, I don't want to lead you down the wrong road. I don't want you to get too excited. I don't want us to go to the sex place. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. So I want to be able to create some boundaries as well in that space. So I do understand if I was given the benefit of the doubt from that perspective, but I'm still open to what you guys are saying as well, because I think there can be that aspects as well. So yeah, love for you guys jump back in that respect as well.
I think and the thing here, going back to boundaries again, you haven't and we don't know the conversation they had 5 months online, right? We don't know if she was leading my man on, or say, when I hug you, I want to see you, I want to kiss you, I want all this. So the conversation is going on. So he's going to see, what can I get to, or where can I go in this relationship? And he has to understand, hey, when she put the holst on this bad boy, or when she said stop, or she put the holst on it, you're going to have to hold. And whatever she's talked online, because online talk can get different ways. Whatever she talked online is totally different now that she's in person. She's trying to slow roll this. And let's not be, she's also on national TV. So I don't want to give too much or do too much, unlike another couple. But I still want to keep my integrity, my dignity on TV. So I want to make this a slow roll and a slow pace, and to see if you really like me or not.
I do like the fact that he had the dance instructor there. I'm very familiar with compa, because I have like a lot of close friends that are like family to me that are Haitian. So there's all different ways to dance it. I dance with some of my aunties and things like that. I've danced with my friends' wives. Like, you don't have to get all up and close in other regions. You can put some distance in between. But nevertheless, I think for somebody, she might not be familiar. So when you start out like close to close, and when you're learning a dance, maybe you don't know, she might have feared that, maybe his hand is going to go on the small of her back, and she's not ready for all of that yet. Um, yeah. So it just all depends on what her mind went to when she thought about the dancing. But again, I think it's a nice first date. It's a nice first thing to do. But I think this just goes to show you just have to gauge each person accordingly, and get to know, like, what are their limits, how are they with physical touch, things of that nature. I think it's good to have those. I think for me, like, it's just another takeaway and reminder, have those conversations with somebody and just get an understanding for what they feel about, especially a woman, what her feelings are around physical touch and things of that nature.
Yeah, I just thought about this. Maybe she doesn't understand his culture, and the Haitian culture, knowing this was a cultural situation, a cultural dance. She may not have understood understood the assignment, or understood what was going on, because he was trying to introduce her to his culture, and maybe she didn't understand. Just a thought.
Yeah, and like I said, it can easily be many different things, right? That's what I'm saying to you. I'm not ruling out anything. You know, I'm not ruling out anything. It could be the fact that she felt uncomfortable. It could be the fact that she has also got a trauma response to it as well, right? So there's no. It's so early, and there's not enough information to rule out to say that it's one thing, you know. So we can be open to different perspectives. I think obviously, like I said, if that's her boundary, that's her boundary. He has to respect it. Like you said, Glenn, he has to find a way around it. He has to find a way around it. Not doesn't mean bypass it, but find a way to actually start being able to move them forward in a different direction. Maybe having, you know, maybe some conversations around, you know, what is comfortable. How fast is she willing to move? Like, what pace does she want them to move at? You know, in terms of physically, so that we can actually begin to build a bridge between each other. Because it's not meant to be, the rejection doesn't have to be, we're not, don't touch me again. It can be a case of, let's readjust now. Okay, you know, what are you comfortable with? What is the safe pace? You know, you know, where for you is a bit too intimate for you. You know, having those kind of conversation, you know, and I think that's important. You know, that you'll be able to have that common standing point, so you actually know how to move, and then you know also your boundaries with each other. So yeah, I think it's important that everybody has really key conversations with each other. I mean, like I said, I think for other people it might have been fine, just wasn't necessarily for her in terms of maybe being able to build that safety in terms of physical touch as well. So, you know, I definitely hear that. Any other last points on this couple?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, listen, I think, you know, she went with it, and then, and it's a show, so they're gonna, want to highlight something. So it does seem like she did warm up towards the end. And then from the looks of it, enjoyed the dance with him. And then they had their end of the date, the second part of the date, where they went to that rooftop, which I'm really not sure why why he decided to go there if he's afraid of heights, unless she said she likes heights, because she even said, so why are we here? So that just, it's not like a big deal to me, but I just thought it was like, well, bro, you're afraid of heights. She doesn't necessarily think she hasn't said anything like, oh, I love the heights. So it was just interesting why he decided to make that choice. Is he doing like grand gestures, or, is he trying to impress her? I'm just wondering, just a little question mark.
Talk to me, Glenn. You got a face.
Hey, just something he probably seen on TV. He thought he could do it. He thought, and like I said, we don't have background on that conversation. Maybe she wanted a dinner. Maybe she wanted to see the skyline. Maybe like, you know what, this is great. Or maybe it's some production like, we set something up for you on top. So I mean, it's just one of those things that we don't really know yet. Yeah, if I'm scared of heights, if I'm him, I'm scared of heights. I'm not going up anything high. But again, maybe he's showing that I'll conquer my fear for you. So he could be one of those type of plays that he's playing. So only time will tell.
I'll definitely hear that. I mean, listen, the view looked amazing, so I can see where it potentially might have worked. Do you know what I mean? But I guess obviously, again, going back on what you guys have said, I think it's important to focus also on the fact that we've had 5 months, and 5 months where you actually weren't interacting physically. So this should really force you to have more conversations around what you guys want, what you're expecting. You knew it was going on a show. Did you guys not discuss expectations when it comes to touch and physical touch? Did we not discuss what will really be cool for people? If we're not discussing those things, in 5 months, what are we really doing? Do you get what I'm saying to you? So, okay, that's cool. All right, let's go to the next couple. Let's go to the next couple. Let's go to the next couple now. Let me talk, obviously, about Tatiana and is it Clevasier? Clevasier? This brother here and this young sister here. Okay, it's interesting, I must say the least. He tried to go in for a kiss, didn't get that kiss either. He felt some type of way as well a little bit, but they've been talking for 8 months. They're actually in a relationship, I believe they said as well. So they have a mutual attraction. He sees her as a 10 out of 10. He spoke about the future as well with her. There doesn't seem to be any major challenges because again, he did try to go for the kiss, but nothing too crazy. She wasn't ready for that just yet, which is cool. And they seem to actually enjoy each other as well. All right. So I want to know your thoughts on Tatiana and Is it Clevasier? Clevasier. You know me in names, boy. What's you
Nah,
guys?
bro, this one you definitely you doing great actually because you're killing this one. This is good. You're doing a good job because that's a tricky name.
What's your thoughts, Glenn?
She's a mom, and I think she's a mom. I think she's also in school. I think she said too. So she's trying to balance a lot. And Clevasier, I think Clevasier, he's going in. He wants. I think she's gonna be able to control him. I think not control in the sense of, but set the boundaries up and tell him how to go. I think she communicated very well from what I've seen. When I saw, she was able to communicate to him. Even though he went in for the kiss, she told him right then and there, "That's not what I'm ready for. We're gonna slow roll this. Even though we're in a relationship, we're gonna slow roll this. Don't get brand new. Like let's not get on TV and take this to another level. But let's get here and let's slow roll it. I know you from Instagram. I think they met on. Yeah, I know you from Instagram. I know you from our conversations. But while we're in this thing together, I have some boundaries. I have some rules, and we're gonna slow roll this, and we're gonna get to know each other again. I think from where I see her, she's more mature. She look at, I made a mistake. I got a kid. Whatever situation, I got a kid. I'm in school. I got some goals and I got some plans, and I want to see if you fit into my goals and my plans. And so she's gonna slow walk this with Clevasier, and to make sure that he's the right person. I think she's gonna give him. He's gonna have to pass the test for her in order to move on. Each stage he's gonna have to pass, and for him to get more and more, and that trust level gonna have to be built up from what I've seen from her so far.
Go for it, Sean.
Yeah, I know people are saying they don't think she likes him. I don't think she dislikes him. I just think she wasn't ready for the kiss at the moment that he was ready for the kiss. That's the way it looked for me. Like she was fine when he was feeding her the fruit, and he even said, you're giving me the eye contact. So, and she's a beautiful smile. So she was smiling at him. Her body language was positive. I think, like, like just because we get a no doesn't mean it's just an. It's I always say, you say no. It's just a, unless you tell me like, hey, listen, I want to be friends. I'm not attracted to you. That's a different conversation. But if somebody just is like, I'm not ready to kiss you right now, that to me is just more like it's a not right now. It could be for later. You have to respect when the person is ready. And different people are, ready at different timing. So those are my thoughts. But I think they seem like a good, decent couple. She has this is the season of the newborns, because she has a child too. I think, or maybe not a newborn, but I know she has a son. So I'm not sure. And then he's got a secret too. So here we go with some more secrets.
Definitely hear that. Can't lie to you. Yes, I said talking about Tatiana and Clevasier.
Well, Clay. She shortened his name to Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. Because if it's Courvoisier, it's spelled wrong. But anyway, um, my issue with him first was that S on the chest, because I think he's gonna be coming in here acting like he's Superman, and she is not gonna let him take that role. Sorry. He did a great gesture. Everything was vegan. He remembered her dietary restrictions, but again, the dark arts in me says a player always knows the cards to play. So I need to know what is up with him really. Now for her, it didn't seem based on the editing that she truly appreciated that whole vegan thing. She kept on pressing him, kind of. It didn't scream to me like, I really appreciate that you remembered. I really appreciate that you made sure that I had something to eat. And it kind of gave me the queen looking down at a peasant, the way that she gave him her fingertips. But I will leave that there for them. But I don't think she's wholeheartedly, as she should not be wholeheartedly for him. But I didn't see her as being very open to his suit, if I say it that way.
Any other thoughts on this couple here, Tatiana and Clevasier?
I'm enjoying you saying his name. You just want to get it right, bro. It's okay. You got it, bro. If anything, I'm gonna be the one messing jacking his name up because I'm gonna call him Cavassier. Because that's what I think of every time I hear that name. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's see. I would again. I want to see what the secret is. Because the secret is going to be a big determining factor on how they navigate things. So I'm very interested to see, how things go. If he's able to recover from getting dubbed on the kiss, and that's that. But for the fellas out there, if you got a good vibe, you just don't just get all worked up because you didn't get a kiss when you asked for it. It doesn't mean that let the woman tell you what she's thinking. It's not an automatic never. It's just she may be wanting to just move things along, at a different pace than where you're ready for.
Yeah, but you gotta read the room, and I guess he's reading. He was reading off. You gotta read the moment and read the room, and understand that. I'm like I think Coach said a couple last segment. Sometimes like they didn't have conversations prior to coming here. So I think we know we both going on this show. It's not like Married at First Sight. Like we both going on this show, and we this is what we're here for. Let's have some conversations on leading up to it. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna handle this? Which way we're gonna. Even even when I see you for the first time, like, do you mind me giving you a kiss? Do you mind me giving you a hug? If we go out on a date, do I can't get a hug? At least I know the parameters and the rules of the game before I get to the game. And I think some people don't ask those questions. Know the rules.
And I think that's just the honest truth. I think because again, these are always a great examples for people obviously dating and stuff, right? Because sometimes you can misread it, right? So you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can misread it, and it can happen. It can be one of those moments where, or sometimes we don't even realize that actually sometimes there is a moment, right? You go for it, and the person actually goes, actually, it was a moment, but they change their mind, and it's just normal. Like things do happen in those situations, so it's about just being able to. Be able to just pivot in that moment. Maybe there's even a chance for even a conversation. It doesn't have to be necessarily that it's a bad thing. It can be just a case of that the moment's kind of gone. I remember, of course, these are probably more grown than I am, but I remember when I was 17, and that's probably very young, and for maybe that's very old for some people who had their first kiss. Blood, I hadn't kissed a girl yet, blood. So, with the girl that became my girlfriend, I missed several moments because I was like waiting for that perfect moment. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And then eventually she pulled me and said, "Do you not want to kiss me?" Hey, I do. I didn't know when the moment was. You know what I mean? Like I was fresh. You know what I'm saying to you? I was fresh and I was overthinking it. So, maybe you have had a kiss, but you may be overthinking the moment. Again, it's just about pivoting at that time. It's about conversation. It's about communication. It's about being more balanced. So it's not about it even being a bad thing. It's a case of, yeah, you might have misread that moment, and you just have a conversation about, hey, look, did I misread a moment? You know what I'm saying? I thought there was a moment here. My bad. I thought there was a moment. That's why I went in for the kiss. And then you have a conversation. Yeah. And actually, then that begins to build further trust between the two of you, because actually now you guys are able to be open and discussing very difficult conversations. And that's a difficult conversation. You missed a kiss. It didn't happen. Maybe you feel a little bit embarrassed. That's okay. Be open and communicative about it. Hey, I do feel a bit embarrassed in this moment. I do apologize. I misread the situation, blah, blah, blah. And I think these are part of what we talk about when it comes to balanced relationships, where we really are trying to make sure we're keeping everybody safe as well in that. Yes, Elsid.
I wonder if she was turned off by the date. Okay? Now, hear me out. We don't know how deep her veganism goes. And riding that horse could be seen as exploitive if she is truly a deep vegan. So it may be, he missed the mark on exactly what the date was. If she is a vegan, I would not have brought an animal into the whole date, just as a precaution.
And I would say
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Coach. Go ahead.
go for it, Sean. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, Yeah, I think the other part that he missed it with her was when they were sitting there on like the blanket and that picnic, and he was feeding her the grapes. Um, and he was looking at her, and she was like, and then he made that comment, and then he said something like, "Come here closer" or something, and she was like, kind of like she like grinned, and she was like, "Well, what do you mean?" She was like, like she was giving him like a little bit like, "Hey, full stop." And then when he tried to again lean in, and she was like, "No, no, I don't want to do that." And then he went and held her hand. I was like, "Bro, no, no, no." She gave him her hand like a wet noodle. I was like, "Oh, bro, this is massively failing." She's trying to tell you in not so ways like she don't want to go that. She's like, she's fine where you guys are. And I think everybody is different. And I think you brought up a good point too. It's like you have to judge where that person is. And she was comfortable with where they were. He was feeding her grapes, but then that got shut down because he was like, "You want another grape?" She was like, "No, I'm good." So no more grapes because you taking this out of you. You getting carried away. So I think he just needs to, just reel it back in. Maybe she doesn't want to have their first kiss on camera like that. She's just still vibing, getting to know him, taking it in. So it didn't look like a total red light to me. I just want to keep, bringing that point up. It didn't look like a total red light to me. She was so smart, like her energy was so open to me, and I think he just misread her cues.
You know what can happen sometimes though as well. Like if I'm to be fair to him as well, is that sometimes men are also fantasists as well, right? Like we talk about women also being fantasists and wanting this perfect image. Maybe he himself also has that perfect image, right? He's like, I've got the perfect date. We've gone horseback riding. She said she likes animals. Okay, fantastic. We're riding these horses. We're in an open field. We're now having a picnic. I'm now feeding her grapes. Okay, this is the moment, And sometimes you can kind of go through the motion where it's a bit like you're thinking that, okay, this will be the moment, right? And of course, oftentimes we look at men to be the progressors. So maybe he thought to himself, okay, well, I got to be the one that's got to, make this move here and make it a bit more than, push it a bit more. And again, like I said, it is a case of, listen, that you can make mistakes. You know what I'm saying to you? You can make mistakes. It's just a case of the pivot. You know what I'm saying to you? I don't think he necessarily you missed the mark, you missed a moment. It might feel a bit painful. The rejection might hurt a little bit, but you're like, you know what? It's cool. I'm pivoting and I move forward again. You know what I'm saying, Tuna? And we move forward in the right fashion. So yeah, it does happen. You can sometimes get too involved with the perfect ideal as well. Any other thoughts on Tatiana and Clevasier?
This he probably thought that this date would work and he would the lady would be enamored of him. And I wonder when is the last time he got rejected with such a well balanced date. But that's just my dark arts thinking.
No, you're probably right because he thought he had all the magic moves, and he had laid it out and was feeding her grapes, which I don't like all that stuff either. Like if I don't know you like that, don't put food in my mouth. You know what I mean? Like, come on, first
But
date.
you've been talking for months, Sean.
So what?
You,
That's virtual. I'm
Yeah, that's
now if
virtual.
we have been physically dating, yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But if I just met you, I again, maybe that's why I overly kind of like am sympathizing with her because I'm very funny on a first meeting with somebody. I'm a very sensory person, so if something doesn't smell right, I'm self-conscious about what I ate, how my breath is. I'm gonna be very I might be a little skinny. I'm sorry. I'm very particular. We talk about this on these shows. When all these people get to kissing in the mouth, somebody they just met. I don't, herpes is very common. I'm sorry. I don't want to just be kissing everybody in their mouth. It's just, to me, I just think all these things. What food particles do you have in your mouth? Yeah, I need us to be on a very, like, I need to be comfortable with you, and I'm not saying, oh, I have to wait 3 dates. No, but it's also an energy thing with me. And if you might have a little onion wafted from your breath, I'm not kissing
It's,
you in your mouth.
they're smelling like the horses they rode in on, Sean.
Oh, then that's gonna be it's gonna it's gonna be give me social distancing if that's the case.
No, I think it's like what Coach said. I think he had a picture in his head of what it would be, how I can woo you, and how I can, what's going to happen when I do this. And it was, I'm not going to say a complete miss, but it was one of those, I missed some things. The question is, how are you going to bounce back? How did he take it? How is his ego going to deal with this? Um, you know, and does she recognize that he has an issue with it, and how does she help him get past it if he has an issue? And that could tell how they can build a relationship up or work on their relationship, because he did look a little rejected, but he moved on. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys' perspective on that one. Let's go to the next couple then. We're talking about obviously Alexis and Chris. So Alexis and Chris, who were, on the show, and I don't know why I don't have my picture on them. I don't know why I don't have a picture of them. Okay. But yes, they also, he is 10 years younger than Alexis. Okay, they've been talking for a year. This is the funniest one. She met him when they met first time round. She asked for a Delash pic. He says that she said that she lights up when he smiles, and he speaks that he says obviously he finds her attractive. Yes. But there was a situation where he ghosted her, which I still don't understand fully. So maybe one of you guys can break it down. I don't get what the issue is here and why he had to apologize. If I'm talking to another woman and I'm with another woman, why am I apologizing to you for having to, be away from you? Because I'm away from you for a reason. I have another girl. That's what I didn't get. But like I said, maybe I misunderstood what they were actually explaining. So I'll be definitely happy for you guys to be able to break that down. What's your thoughts on Chris and Alexis? Yes, sure.
I think Chris was confused too. That's why he didn't know what she meant when she asked him. I think she was the only one that thought there was an apology needed. And I'm of the school of thought, anytime you got to demand an apology from somebody, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. Don't ever demand an apology or tell somebody what they need to apologize to you for, especially in the beginning of a relationship. Like, unless that you guys discuss this and the person said, oh yeah, I'm sorry about that, or I realized how that was problematic or whatever. You don't just tell somebody you need to apologize to me, because then I think you're just trying to gain some leverage. I think her feelings were hurt because she was with, Justice for Maya. It must have been Maya that Chris was with during this time. And because all the descriptions that she laid out were sounding like somebody local, which they both live in Dallas, and somebody closer to his age. Think Maya is probably younger than him. So all those things point to her. So, I guess we need to get some clarity around that. Maybe we can pull Maya in for a part two to get to get her side of this. But yeah, I think, we have a cougar in the wild. God bless her. Seems like a nice lady. But she's a cougar in the wild, and she's hunting, and she wants to make sure he does not go after another young panther again. He wants to keep, she wants to keep, make sure his eyes are kept on her.
That pick got her wide open. The pick got her chasing this young guy, wanting this young guy, having this young guy. Even if he goes to another woman on another show and deal with another woman, she still wants him. And I agree with Sean. If I have to ask you for apology, there's no point. The man he didn't think he did anything wrong, right? I don't think he can even answer a question about what about us. So she's an older woman with this younger guy. Yeah, Chris is not. I don't think he's feeling her. truth be told, if you ask me, I think Chris just wants to be on TV again. In my opinion, he wants to be on the show, but there's no way that this relationship works. Was surprised actually when I was like, isn't that dude from, and like, wasn't he messing with, like, how did he end up here? Right? I didn't see the preview, so when I actually first watched it, I was like, what? I had to go do some fishing. I had to go pull up your video, coach, and like make sure I saw what I saw. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say it live. Much props to you. You know. So, but yeah, that's what it's not gonna work. I think she's 10 years older than him, like something like that. Is a big age gap. She's almost 50. I do remember that. She's almost 50, and he's like 35 or something like that.
12 years. 12 years.
It's 12 years. 12 years. Okay, 12-year gap. But it's like, nah, what are you doing? Like, there's a whole bunch of other people in your age gap. Why this young man? And why now? And the same thing with Chris. Why this older woman? Like, is she taking care of you financially? Is she somebody sugar daddying somebody? Is somebody being, what's going on here? Because it does look weird. So it looks real weird. And it's not going to work. I think this is going to be the combustible relationship. They're going to have some arguments.
Sugar mama, you mean? Sugar mama.
Sugar mama. Yeah, sugar mama. I don't know what I said, but it's sugar mama. Sorry,
you said sugar daddy.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, sugar mama. Thanks, Sean. Sugar mama. So she's going to be the sugar mama. So, yeah.
If you can't trust a wife between Pennsylvania and Texas, why would you still want him? If Chris is hanging out with ladies of his age group locally where he is, why would you think he would continue to be faithful with you long distance? He already proven himself not to be such. Or is it a Delulu case of you think y'all are more exclusive than he agreed to? I'm thinking she thinks that's mine. You are mine. I have requested a pic, and therefore you are mine. So my question is, and when I heard that, I was like, lady, I don't know many ladies that request those pictures from a man. Okay? I don't know many. And it's screaming to me thirsty. It's screaming to me, exactly what Glenn said. A sugar mama? I don't know many ladies, even in your chat, Kojo, that would solicit a picture, even for a man that they find quite attractive. And let me let you know something, young lady, and I'm being very generous with the young lady. Just because the picture may seem generous does not mean that he's generous or knows how to use the gifts he's been given. So don't be all thirsty just because the picture looked well in the frame. And I hope you saw the entire thing, because he could have been sending you somebody else's pic. But the whole thing with this, I was like, if you got to beg him for an apology, he ain't sorry. He's not sorry. He's not sorry. Leave that young man alone and go about your business. Go about your business, because he is clearly not your business except for on camera. So I'm sorry. I have little to no hope for this group. I think we are there to just enjoy the flavors of each other and go home.
Yeah, I definitely hear you on that. I think obviously with Chris and Alexis, obviously it's given Chris is trying to get his acting career off the ground. I know that obviously he was trying to do that on Ready to Love, so it's given trying to get an acting career off the ground. This is part of it. This is part of the him kind of developing his portfolio for acting, and I hear it. You know what I mean? Because a 10-year gap, first and foremost, number one. Number two, the fact that you started a year ago, and then obviously this number three. I'm not really sensing the attraction between the two of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless outside of sex, anyway. I think for her, this is the most physically beautiful man that that she's dealing with, and 10 years younger, she's winning. She feels like, and so she gonna play her games, because she gonna make sure that he don't go nowhere this time. Whether that'll be enough for him, I don't think so, because I think he definitely wants to be elsewhere. But the reality of the situation right now, she's gonna be winning from her perspective, because she's keeping him close. But yeah, 10-year gap is a very long time. I'm even wondering when they spoke first time. But yeah, for me personally, it's not a one that works well for me. I think this is a bit of a ruse, and I think this is one just for the audience to kind of talk over, but it's not really a real relationship, if I'm honest with you. But hey, I could be wrong, you know. So yeah. Any other thoughts on this couple here?
Well, to Elsa's point, I think she is very focused on getting down to business, because when they did the preview of the next exercise, I don't know what they were doing, some body painting or whatever type of exercise. She had her hands all up his shorts. So she's ready to she's ready to roll in the hay, so to speak.
Right.
Seems like a lady not honoring the man's boundaries. That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. But she liked what she saw, and I guess she want to see it live. And that's what
Sid, why you always stirring up trouble, huh? Why?
I am trouble.
You came up here with the sole intent of stirring trouble, and here you go.
Yeah.
I can take my trouble and go home, or I can demand an apology, Deacon. I can turn into her, demand an apology.
Lord. You are something else.
You are the one that stirred up this hornet's nest, so don't hide your hand now, Deacon.
I wasn't. But I wasn't expecting you to go down that path about he's crossing her boundaries for consent.
No, she's crossing his, because he
Right,
looked
correct,
like, hey, don't
he
go
definitely
all
didn't
the way.
look. He didn't look happy from the preview. We'll see how it all plays out. But he definitely was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You're doing a lot here, and we're in public."
Yes, it's screaming Lady Eloise, okay? That's what I thought the minute it happened. Marcus, darling. Okay?
Oh, listen to that tongue roll, Elsa. All right now.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Chris and Alexis, our cougar? No? Well, we'll see what happens next week, because obviously that date does look a bit awkward. So hopefully, she's respecting his boundaries. Okay. Next one we're going to talk about. Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? All right. Kiki and Brandon. Okay. She said, does he like the big gal? And he said he likes the big lady. So there's nothing wrong with this love right here. Okay. A bit confusing though. I don't get it about this drinking situation, whether she has a drinking problem or whether he's trying to control her for the drinking situation. I'm not sure what's going on there. Then the first date. Yeah, listen, whilst I think you guys are comfy, the first date in lingerie, probably not the best kind of thing, brother. I didn't think that was going to be the best choice to do. Again, what kind of boundaries are we implementing? And what kind of conversations are we having in terms of boundaries? I was a little bit, but yeah, I want to know what you guys' thoughts were in this particular aspect when it comes to Kiki and Brandon. All right, what's your thoughts?
Okay, let me try to be nice to Brandon, okay? Maybe since he knows she's a model, he wanted to be in, her home court advantage, because she would probably feel comfortable. But Brandon, I'm sorry, I did not like the date. First of all, that is her profession. And you look like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit spicy with him. Look like you're just trying to get pictures for free. I'm sorry, this is this girl's profession. She is paid to model, and now you're trying to get a session for free. I couldn't stand it. It also screamed to me the lingerie, because you chose that. Are you putting together a portfolio for your private sessions? I'm sorry. It was creepy. It was icky. I'm sorry, Brandon. She could have modeled in the clothes she came in. She could have modeled in a wonderful gown or something. The whole lingerie thing for a first date, no. It's screaming you want to see her in the underwear. So I'm telling her, basically, your female's intuition was telling you why you did not take that 2-hour drive or whatever to meet up in Alabama. Because Georgia and Alabama ain't that far, y'all. 2 hours, 2.5 hours. He could actually meet her in Atlanta, whatever. But Brandon was giving me the entire ick with that. Okay, now I understand the whole alcohol thing. We have had a season 1 where a young lady drank a whole lot and got really, how can I say, they got put out of the house the first season. So I'm wondering if that's what Brandon was trying to prevent, but the way it came across in editing, that he didn't want her drinking at all, or he was trying to control her drinking. I don't I don't mind if that is the reason, if they had talked about it, but the way it came off is like, you are going to control what I eat, when I eat, how much I eat, how much I drink, when I drink, and what I drink. It can scream controlling my behavior. And that could scream that I can't have you around my photo shoots, because then you're going to have something to say while I'm working. I didn't like the date at all. I did not like, the lingerie and all of that he put her in, because it seemed like he was trying to get her in her undergarments and get pictures for free. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Alicia. When I saw the photo shoot, I was like, man, what are you like? Are you actually like my question? Are you a photographer for real, or are you just taking pictures? Are you just you a photographer for real, or just taking pictures of this young lady? I know she's your girl, and she was uncomfortable with it. She like, you want me to put this on for real? Like, this is what you want me to do? So I don't think she was comfortable. But I think she went through with it anyway, because it built their 5-year relationship, I think 4 or 5 year relationship. So I think she went through it just because it was something that he wanted to do. But then she saw the controlling side of him. How can you tell her to stop drinking, but you're still pouring? Right? And I didn't think she drunk that. It was wine. I didn't think she drunk that much wine. Unless he has some past history, whatever case may be. But that's the conversation again. Like, that's a conversation. It wasn't like she was around the house every time he saw her drinking. It was at dinner. So that became a controlling aspect there for him. But I need her to speak. She gave him a look, but and a sarcastic comment, but speak up a little bit more with your voice, and give him your real thoughts and your real opinions on this. About how you feel, how it makes you feel. If you didn't want to do the photo shoot, you should have said no. If you felt like you didn't drink enough, let me have another drink. Or again, she did say she did make a comment like, "What are you, the alcohol police or the drink police or something like that?" But she has to be more vocal. And I think she's I don't know, she's 29, so she's a little bit younger than him. But you can see there's some confidence issues that's there. So she has to be able to be vocal and speak up. And set the boundaries with him and with Brandon. Say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, you got this one for free, but you're not getting any more. You're not getting any more. And I know you like big women, you like big girls. Doesn't mean I have a low self-esteem. Some guys like big girls because they believe they have low self-esteem, and that's the way they can get over and get over on them. So we'll see if Brandon is one of those guys or not.
Yeah, I would agree with the consensus. I think that just unless you got her consent, this is definitely one of those things where I think as much as you want to surprise somebody, it's a first date. He should have gotten her consent before he even brought her into an environment like that. So I didn't really like it. I didn't like that he put her in that position, and then she was especially uncomfortable, especially with some of her, her private parts being exposed. So, I really don't think he thought about her when he planned this date. He just thought about, ooh, this would be sexy and I would enjoy seeing her in lingerie. So, as much as I hate to say it's coming off as fetishization, it is looking that way. Um, and I think the alcohol comment, he should have just kept that to himself, especially when you're just meeting somebody in person. Observe, observe the person's behaviors over a course of several interactions before you start influencing or trying to tell them what to do. And then I also think, he shouldn't be telling her what to do. You ask questions, and then let her answer your questions, and then you just leave it at that. But I still think it was too early for those questions, because they're just getting to know each other in person and things like that. Just let her be and see how she is naturally before you start controlling her. You think you're going to come into her life, and if she is a heavy drinker, you're going to be able to just make her change that? No. If that's not something that works for you, then you two aren't aligned, versus trying to change somebody's actions. Change yourself, because that's really the only person you can control. So, my thoughts.
Yeah, man. I think again, I think with his couple, I think he just missed the mark here with the date. I think the date was overly exposing her, in terms of not just physically, but also putting her in a space where she had to make a choice, right, about whether she was comfortable or not. And in this instance, it's a really big miss. And I think Brandon will have to look at this again because to want to give somebody a photo shoot is not the problem. The problem here is that her butt was going to be out. Okay, and I barely know you. I barely know. Well, not that I barely know you, but again, once more, we're on national television, and also number two, we are, still getting to know each other in that space. So this might have been a little bit, yes, as somebody said, a little bit too quick, too soon. And I feel like, Brandon should have been more cognizant and more aware that this is probably not the best first date deal. Why can't she have her normal clothes on and have this kind of photo shoot? You get what I'm saying to you? Why can't she do one of those ones? That'd have been beautiful. That'd have been lovely. You put her into a photo shoot and she's in decent clothes and you're taking photos of her. Why did it have to be a case of her having lingerie? Again, this is about the imagery we're sending out to the other person. This can send a signal of I'm just wanting you for sex, right? It's usually when people just want you for sex, the rush is what usually will normally get the impatience. They will try to speed things up along quicker than they actually really need to. So again, once more, I think a gentleman has missed the mark and unfortunately has got this one wrong, and he should really look at it again. In terms of the drinking aspect, I can understand that sometimes you don't like drinking. But again, it's not your girl, number one. Number two, I think there's a way to deliver information importantly. I think there's a way to handle such a conversation which is sensitive in that space. Again, this goes back to having balanced conversation. When you're not balanced, you tend to make judgments, not inquiries. So that goes to what Sean was saying about, you can't control someone, tell someone what to do. You're actually meant to be in a space of inquiry. So like if you felt uncomfortable, it's fine. I didn't. Again, when I was young and probably very, very, very young, I didn't like my girl drinking, but I couldn't control her drinking. She wanted to drink. My only thing was, please don't drink and get drunk because your safety's at question. But drink if you want to drink. You know what I mean? It just wasn't my kind of thing because I don't drink at all, right? But I understood for her it was a bit of fun, and she was for girls. It's nothing to do with me then. You know what I mean? You've got to move it on. Do you know what I'm saying to you? You've got to move it on. But if you do feel like her safety is in question, right, then there's a way to deliver that information. I think this is, as someone would say to me, it's the art of addressing, the art of delivering a message where it's like, hey, look, I am concerned for your safety. And again, this goes back to what Sean said. I've noticed that you've been you drink if you're drinking, so to make sure everything's okay, you make sure you're cool. You know what I'm saying to you? Like you're generally asking from a place of like care, like you want to make sure the person's good. But how would he know that if you hadn't observed her? You didn't give yourself enough time to observe some of those behaviors. You went straight for the kill, which tells me either you're triggered or maybe there's something deeper here that we need to really look at for you in terms of control. Why is it that her drinking makes you feel some type of way? So it's a case again finding that balance to have real conversations. Any other thoughts on Kiki and Brandon before we shift it to the next couple? Okay.
Now, we don't know his experience with her with drinking, as you said. And remember earlier in the day, she said she started it off. She said, I don't want to be that girl, but we going to get it started. So we really don't know his experience of her. But this is the first date. She ain't driving anywhere. We have a car, and we are going to be at the same residence. So you can certainly take care of her. But it is certainly a time for you to observe rather than dictate her behavior.
Definitely understand that. Okay. Let's go to the next couple then. Let's go to the next couple, which is going to be Britney and Ty, if I remember correctly. This couple here, Britney and Ty. Okay, all right. The more mature couple. I like the energy, Can't lie to you. They seem to have they've had a good start. Let me say that. Let me not sell them on a river. They've had a good start. With Brandon and Ty, they were on a boat ride. The chemistry seemed to be working. They seem to be both, looking, a bit of flirtation that's going on. There is a good vibe seemingly at this particular conjunction between the two of them. There's nothing really kind of bad per se. There is an age gap though. And she has a child and he doesn't. So There's some aspects of that. She said that she also finds it easy to communicate with him because although he's humorous and playful, he's actually able to have conversations that allow her to feel safe and be able to communicate with him. So again, once more, it seems like the good chemistry so far, good organic kind of connection between the two of them. So it can go somewhere. It's got potential, right? We just need to be able to nurture that potential. What's your ladies and guys, ladies and gents, thought process?
I think the connection is. I think there's a good connection. The only thing I saw that was probably an issue. He wants to do a lot of traveling, and she wants to be a mom. And she talked about it. She said that a little bit. He wants to do all this traveling, but hey, I got a son. We can't do all this. I'm already on this show, so I think that dynamic, how he's going to deal with her having a kid, and how he plays in that, and how his role moves. They are older couple. I think he's 38. He looks much older than what he presents, but it's maybe the gray hair and the beard. But I think their chemistry is good. Right now, they are a little bit older than everyone else, and the conversation they had is good. I thought the date was good. Parasailing, a good date up in the air, trusting each other, having fun. So, and he does laugh a lot, but if that laugh something he's hiding behind, is he joking too much because he don't want to face reality? So, just some questions. I like to see a little bit. I want to see a little bit more of Ty before I say anything else. So, I thought right now, first episode, good connection. Seemed like a nice guy.
All said.
Okay. His laughter after a while was irking the heck out of me because I felt like it was a cover-up laughter. I felt it was a nervous laughter. It's granted, yes, they've only been chatting, I think, 3 or 5 months? Yes, she has a child. Yes, he wants to get up and go and do more of this while she wants to, kind of settle and ease into life as a wife and mother. It kind of irked me when she said she's looking for alpha male because clearly what we have seen of him is not that. Sorry to tell him. It ain't that. And it seems to me like she's going to get a huge disappointment if she's still looking for that. Now, does he seem like a good guy so far? He did something adventurous that she liked and enjoyed. It was one of those dates that I did like, but again, once you parasailing, y'all are sitting real close up there. There's no way for her to escape, sitting right next to you. All these dates are getting us real close to each other. And I don't know how she would, feel with that closeness. Because when they got on the boat, she made sure there was some distance. But I got to see more with him. Can he be serious? Can he have a serious conversation? And, can he be the, I guess, father figure she's looking for? And I believe she said her son. So I don't know. It's just that we laughing a little too much. Can we have that deep conversation? Deacon?
Yeah.
You dancing? You dancing back there, Deacon?
No, I'm not dancing. I'm setting up a photo shoot, so just pardon me. But nevertheless, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I don't necessarily want to date somebody that is looking for me to be a father figure for their son. And what I mean by that is that if it grows to that, that's fine. I don't think there's an issue with that per se. But if that's your goal right out the bat, I just have a lot more questions. Like, where's the child's father? What happened? Are they not present? Why do you want me to just plug and play and be a father to this child? I have to see if, the child and I have chemistry and bond in that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a very delicate thing. So, um, I'm not saying like if a woman is like, oh, I want to make sure he gets along well with my child, and he's respectful and he understands that I have children or a child. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just wanting somebody to be a father figure, I think that's a lot and a lot of expectations, especially when we have to get to know each other. We have to figure out if we're going to work out well before you throw a very young child into the mix. So that just gave me a little bit of a pause when she mentioned that. And then lastly, that date would be a no for me. I don't, I guess maybe it's where I am in my 40s. I used to love all the adventurous stuff, the theme park rides, and any of that stuff. Now, no, I just see all the bad things that could happen. So you're not getting me up doing no parasailing. I'm not gonna be on the banana boat at the back of the boat where I get to flying off and rolling around in the ocean. Nope, I'm good. I'm good. The most I'll do and will do is jet skiing. And I happen to thoroughly enjoy that. Anything besides that, not when something can fail. There's too many accidents that happen nowadays. And I'll be boring. I'll be alive and boring, and I'll be okay. So that's that.
No, 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 no zip lining, Sean.
Heck no, I don't want you be dangled hundreds of feet in the air by a thread. Yeah, you can go ahead and you can do that.
I did, man. It was fun. It was fun.
It's fun, Deacon. Don't have me who's more senior than you in age, outdo you.
They can outdo me all they want to, but I'll be alive. I'll be alive and well, and not with
You'll
my blood pressure elevated and being stressed. I've had enough dances with death. I don't need to do the ones of my own volition. Sorry.
so ladies, take notes. What the deacon likes, does not like. He's doing photo shoots. He is dancing. Take notes, ladies.
What is this, The Bachelor? Why are you pointing me off like like I'm like being marched out to cattle here? What is going on?
It's a never ever met, Sean. You may have a lady you've never ever met.
Yeah, I hear it. Any other thoughts on Ty and Brittany? Since you guys are bantering over there. Okay, so we've got one more couple to do. We've got Sinko and Jay. Sinko and Jay. Now, interesting enough, she's the one that plotted the date for them, not the other way around. And they're gonna be standing in the same bed. She about to have a second kid. Yeah, they're staying in the same bed. So it seems to be going quite well. But there are issues that could potentially be can be a problem for them a little bit, I guess, further down the line. But you know, hey, apart from her, trying to measure his height, I think they're all good. What's your thoughts, guys?
Okay, I have this Jay, not to be confused with Super Panel Jay. This Jay is a lady who knows what she wants, just like RJ. So I am not too mad at her, but I feel like she's sunning him. I feel like she is, not just taking the lead, but pushing things in a certain direction. Do I like their banter? Yes. I think he is the gentle giant, pun intended, that she probably, would adjust to in life. She chose the basketball date she loves, and she coaches basketball, and he also plays basketball. I like that when they did the bet that she didn't play coy like another show we saw and Kojo recap. Um, that when it came to a kiss, that she's like, oh, I didn't say where. I'm liking that Jane knows what she wants and is not afraid to go for it. How long were they talking? I believe they were one of those talking for 5 months. Okay. Now, Jay, even though y'all came back and y'all were sweaty from basketball and that, made for need for a shower, I'm not sure I would have jumped in the shower together right away. But I understand the dark arts in me understands what she was going for in learning everything about him. But I don't think I would have done that. Now, the little bed situation, she is a very tall lady. I understand. If she wishes to snuggle, I hope he is agreeing to having a snuggle buddy. I hope he knows he's going to have someone else in the bed. So it sounds like she's just inviting herself there. She's like, I'm just going, hey, that's a bed. I'm going to be in it with him. I'm hoping that he does lay out that he does want company. Okay. So I'm seeing a lot of ladies in this season that just going for it. And I'm hoping that the men are consenting. Ladies, it's a two-way street.
Yeah, she didn't waste any time. I was confused, first of all, why Jay was with all the women. So it made it seem like she was the dude in the relationship. So I was confused. They had me thinking a lot of things there when Sinko came. Had me thinking a whole bunch of stuff. But Jay, again, you said that she knows what she wants. She is in control. She got to realize that can't always be the coach in this relationship. Sometimes when you're a coach, you have players that you can tell what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and you have to change that up when you're in a relationship. And I'm not sure if she gets that yet, because she already deboed the bed. She said, "I'm coming to sleep with you. I can't sleep there." She already told him, we're going to get in the shower together because I need to see what you're working with. And we're going to have sex. So she has deboed everything, and Sinko is just going along with the flow. And so there's come a point in time where he has to say, you know what, if he wants to. Now, we don't know, we got to put a hold on this thing. All right. That's on him. He knows his boundaries and whatever his boundaries may be, but he has to be able. She can't become smothering where he doesn't have any space, right? Because you're going to spend time with her. Now she's going to sleep with you. Now she's going to eat with you. This relationship is really going to get tested because she's going to be smothering, and now she's going to tell you what to do. So he has to be able to stand up and say, not today. No, I'm not doing that. Yes, I am doing this. Hey, can you give me a minute? Let me get some space. Because at this point, he can't even hide in the bathroom because she's going to be right there with him. So.
Not even under the sheet, Glenn. He can't even hide there.
He can't even hide underneath the sheets. Like, where you at? Where's Sinko at? Especially if he did what he put. Especially if he put it down in the shower. That she definitely ain't gonna leave that man alone.
Any other thoughts on Sinko and Jay?
Listen, if he likes it, I love it. Because I don't know. I think they, sometimes when you get started off too hot too fast, it's just a quick eruption and then it just fizzles. So, I'm all about do what you want when you want to do it, as long as it's two consenting adults. But, I think just sometimes you gotta get to know the person a little bit, before you start going full steam ahead and planning dates and, ready to get right to it, But so far I don't see him objecting. But I think he probably just hasn't had a chance to catch his breath because he's just excited by the thrill of it at this point. So let's see. Because she definitely has a lot of domineering energy. Even when they were playing basketball, she was literally sizing him up. So I hope that we can see a softer side of Jay soon, and just get to see a different aspect of her than the one that is very domineering.
Any thoughts on Sinko and Jay? I mean, I personally think that the fact that she actually planned the date, I felt like was a role reversal. But I think it told us a little bit about her mindset, that she's going to control this relationship. And so Cinco needs to fall in line because she's already started planning for the future of how she wants it to look like, how it's going to play like. That doesn't mean that she's going to get married to him, but just means that she's already setting the tone for the way the relationship's going to go. She chose somebody who is going to be a little bit more passive, or seemingly may come across more passive. Doesn't mean he actually is, because again, it could be the age situation, right? But yeah, for me personally, I was like, oh, why did she plan the date? Why did she let the dude plan it? And I was like, yeah, because she doesn't know how to release control. She doesn't know how to step away from, um, from people's opinions and thoughts and ideas. So yeah, I think for her personally, I think she needs to learn how to just relax, take a foot off the pedal, allow yourself to be led, allow the man to, allow that man to just give to you as well. You're over giving, and but again, for her, it's just about safety, I think there is an aspect where it's just about safety. She doesn't feel safe letting him lead, and doesn't feel safe letting him, dictate for them. So, yeah, I definitely hear both, for Sinko and Jay. Any other thoughts on Sinko and Jay? Yes, I'll
I
say.
heard you. I heard you play on words right there. Okay, they're both 30. I don't understand the age thing you're talking about.
Did I mention age? That is a.
Yeah, you
Did I
said
mention-
age thing.
I think she's only like a year or two older, right?
They said they were both 30 at the time. So
Oh, I didn't. Maybe you know what? It could be me being half asleep, mate. So to be honest, I don't remember even saying that part. If I'm honest with you, so forgive me if I said about the age thing. If there is an age thing, yeah.
I can be spicy and say they look like there's an age difference. Okay, but technically the show says they're both 30.
I'm glad you said it because I thought it. There's a couple of people that the ages the age ain't aging.
Age ain't aging and the math ain't mathing.
No, yeah, it's looking like there's a couple digits in a different direction up. But hey, we don't want to be age shaming out here. So
Right, we're not age shaming. I think she planned a date, and I have to say, you know, I can identify a lot with Jay. I have been Jay in dating life where you would plan a date, you know, that you are guaranteed you're going to enjoy because you have dated folks that have missed the mark so many times. So yeah, I can understand the basketball, the pizza. Let's just chill. Let's hang out. Let's see. She planned again. This is another date where we getting physical with each other. So you could kind of like get a sense of the person's touch and the person's, um, physically being around you. I think she just wanted a chill date, but again, I think she wants control. I want to see what's going to happen when Cinco chooses a date, he plans a date. How is that going to translate? Or when he does say something, because he did there on the basketball court, he did try to, take a little control. He did try to, say a little, his piece. I want to see how that translates with her when he does end up planning a date and they do talk. I hope she takes that coach hat off with him.
Any more last thoughts on Cinco and Jay? No, going once, going twice. Sold. Well, listen, we've reached the end then of the couples because we've done them all. But obviously next week's gonna be another interesting conversation. So we'll be back on Saturday night to do that. Well, maybe actually I'll fill up Tuesdays. Actually, maybe I can do that as well. So, but I think Saturday nights are probably better best. But listen, it's been a really good conversation. But I'm gonna let Sean do what Sean do best. Let us wrap us up in a good takeaway, Sean.
yes, I think we are off to the races with the never ever mess, as I call it. We got some interesting ways to get a relationship started out. And I think those are some lessons that we could take away. Honesty is the best policy. And if you're off to the races and you already have massive secrets like children, infants, and things of that nature hiding at home, that's not a good foundation. You need to be clear. You need to be upfront about what you have going on. And if that includes a child, then that needs to be clarified and addressed up front. Very important stones to as you're building your foundation. I think we did a nice roundup around boundaries, right? What boundaries looks like, and we saw so many different levels of boundaries and how boundaries can get pushed, and some to a level of where it's inappropriate. We saw where dancing may be a boundary, but a boundary somebody's willing to work through. For another, kissing is a boundary that perhaps, not on a first date or not, in public, right? So everybody has their boundaries. We need to be clear on what those are. Last but not least, we definitely don't want to be putting people in lingerie on a first date without getting their consent. So lesson learned, may not be your intent to be fetishizing or exploitive, but you should definitely make sure the person is fully comfortable before you put them in such predicaments. Last but not least, we also want to ensure that we are not demanding apologies, right? Apologies should come because the person feels contrite, not because you feel like you need an apology. And then also, when it comes to having a natural ebb and flow in a relationship, right? We should go back and forth. One, we shouldn't be dragging our partners through a relationship and steamrolling one person to do another thing, right? Allow it to ebb and flow, right? And you don't want to be like a volcano. That just erupts and then fizzles out, and then maybe the next eruption doesn't occur for another year or so, or however often, right? We want our relationships to really grow naturally and organically before we push things too soon, too fast. Back to you, Kojo.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Sean. It's been a thrilling conversation. I actually enjoyed it, actually, saying that from this perspective, having be able to just talk about the behaviors and looking at how we how maybe they can dissect it differently, But I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen between these couples and see where they're going to go to the next episode. So if you guys are watching, we'll be back again next week for another one. We appreciate you guys who've stuck around with us and had a good conversation about Never Ever Met. We'll be back next week for that one. Men's panel is tomorrow, so I will be back with that as well. So I'll extend that grace also to Glenn as well for you to join us tomorrow. We're talking about men. Can men cry? Are men allowed to cry? So we're talking about that as well for young people and old people to kind of see, and have a nuanced conversation around that for men as well. So we look forward to that tomorrow. Look, for those who are in the audience again once more, thank you very much. Make sure you like, you share, subscribe. And thank you for those who joined us on Monday TikTok as well. It was very powerful. And we had a lot of you guys over there as well. So thank you. We're back on Thursday nights on TikTok again. So we'll see you again then. But until then, listen, make sure you stay locked, stay loaded. You're liking, you are sharing, you are subscribing, you're clicking on that wonderful bell button. We are going to love you and we are going to leave you. Okay? Don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's a lot of things I don't do anymore, so be careful. You get caught out of there. All right. We're going to see you again. Much love. Bye-bye. Let me play my clip.
Don't beg. It's disgusting.
See, now they're gonna do me dirty.